we will use a block, a chair, a wall for balance or a chair for balance, a rolled up blanket or a rolled up yoga mat would work. And you can always have a strap or something to use as a strap nearby just in case I decide to go that direction, okay? And let's start on our backs. And if you think you want your strap for any kind of leg stretch, you could have that nearby. And yeah, we'll just come down onto the floor, knees bent. Maybe take a sigh. I'm feeling all 10 of your toes on the floor. Feeling the balls of your feet and the heels of your feet on the floor. And just noticing right here if you were in like some wet sand with your feet, if you were making a footprint with your feet, could you get an idea of what would be pressing down? Are you, in other words, are you pressing more on the outer feet or the inner feet, on the balls or heels of the feet? Can you feel the whole foot pressing down and the arches lifting away from the floor? Just noticing that. And let's put a little effort into pressing the feet down and notice how the legs feel with that. So the legs will be about hips distance and parallel. And when I do this, I can really feel the fronts of my shins, the muscles turn on a little bit because I'm not pointing the ankle, right? Good. And then just relax it. If you're pushing hard, relax. And now let's get into our breath. And in yoga, breath work is called pranayama. And it's there's 8 limbs of yoga. In modern yoga, Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras probably in the first couple hundred years of the Common Era, and that's where he described the 8 limbs of yoga, breath work being one of them, and asana or physical practice being another of the 8, right? So it's just a small portion that we tend to focus on here. So as you begin to breathe with more mindfulness, just notice whatever you notice. Is there anywhere where you could release tension in your body? Where are you feeling your breath the most? Could you widen the inhale, breathing 360 degrees around your torso, and lengthen your exhale? You might sigh or you might breathe out through pursed lips. And again. Good. Now we'll stick with the mindful breath as we continue to move. Okay, you can breathe in and out through your nose or you can breathe out through the mouth. Let's just try to lift all 10 of your toes off the floor. Now when I'm doing this, I'm still pressing the balls of my feet down. So it's just the toes that I'm trying to lift. Keep breathing and then exhale, relax them down. And then try again. Inhale, lift all 10 of your toes up. And exhale, relax them down. Good. Now let's widen the feet just a little bit and widen the arms as well. And let's inhale to lift all 10 of the toes up or try to. And then windshield wiper the knees as you're keeping the toes a bit lifted. So we're just getting some active feet, drawing some awareness into our feet. And letting your breath flow as you do this. And if you want to, you could let the head go side to side. It might look in the same directions that your knees fall, or it might look in the opposite direction. You can see what you like better. And you can have neck support or no neck support. Still drawing those toes up towards the feet. Good. And now let's come back to the center. And you can relax the toes down. We'll inhale to stretch your arms way overhead on the floor above you. And exhale, let's bring the right knee in and give it a squeeze. And let's hold behind the leg. And we'll kick the foot up, but keeping the leg bent. Now, if you prefer strap behind the knee, you could. So I've got my knee bent, but I can see my ankle. Now I'm going to draw the toes toward the shin, inhaling, and exhale, I'm going to do what you would consider pointing the foot, right? And then repeat. So flex and point. It's really dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. Now, as you do this, can you look at your ankle and notice the path that your foot takes? Is it going straight? Is it following a straight line, or is it kind of going in or out? Is there any pain anywhere? Couple more, keep breathing. And now let's keep it in that flexed position. So it's like the sole of your foot is flat to the ceiling. We're going to try to keep it there. We're going to try to keep the knee still and turn the ankle so the toes kind of go diagonally, maybe toward 1 o'clock, and then the other direction, more like 11 o'clock, and back and forth, all while keeping it in dorsiflexion. So the sole of the foot facing the ceiling. And right away, I mean, mine's already tired in my shin muscle here. My anterior tibialis is working. I'm going to do a few more of these. Almost like windshield wiper with just the foot, but I'm not pointing the ankle at all. Okay, I'm staying in dorsiflexion for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Now let's point the ankle. So plantar flexion. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to keep the knee still. When I do it in the pointed ankle, it's like I'm drawing a smiley face with my big toe. It kind of curves down and up when I go in and out, side to side. And now I'm feeling a little more over here. For me, I'm feeling it on the side, my peroneals here. You might feel it in your calf, but I also still feel it a little in my shin just because they're tired, okay? I'm going to do a few more smiley faces. And okay, now a big, slow circle. So all around through all of those motions. And reverse. Good. Now let's let go and just shake, shake, shake the leg out. Yeah, just give it a shake. You can straighten it up and bend it, and you can wiggle it all around. And release. Now, as you release it down to the floor, let's just compare sides. The physical sensations that you're feeling, maybe the warmth or fatigue. And then let's inhale, reach arms overhead. And exhale, let's bring the left knee in. Good. Same thing. So we're just lifting the heel up enough so that you can see it. And then we'll go through dorsiflexion. So dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. And you're noticing the path that your foot takes as you do this. Now, does it go straight, or does it tend to go to one side or the other? Is it possible for it to go straight? And which one feels tighter? Good. Okay, now next time you come to that sole of foot flat to ceiling, let's stay there. We're going to try to keep the knee still, looking at the ankle. And now we'll do that little windshield wiper. So ankle only, is ankle and foot are turning in and out, but you're trying to keep it in dorsiflexion. So the whole time the toes are moving toward the shin and you're breathing. And if you're really tight in your calf or your Achilles, you might not be able to get it totally flat like mine. That's okay. You're just working toward it, noticing. Keep breathing. And I'm feeling a little stretch in my calf on this side as I do it as well. Okay, now let's go up to the pointed one, and now our little smiley faces. So ankle is everting and inverting as you're keeping plantar flexion. Whew. Breathing. Good, and now let's do big circles. So all around, nice and slow. Whew. And reverse. Good, and now letting go and just shake, shake, shake it out. You can straighten and bend it a few times. And set it down and notice. Good. Let's let the legs straighten out on the floor if you're not already. And now I'm just turning my legs in and out from the hips, but I'm just doing it very loosely. So I'm just like, my legs are flopping in and out, feet are flopping in and out. Feeling my breath go in and out. A few more. Good. All right. Now let's lie over on one side. Doesn't really matter which. And you may want to have your blanket there below your head and neck for support, or even a block might feel better. Okay, whatever kind of support your head and neck needs. And this is how we're going to be. Okay, so your bottom shoulder is going to be right below your upper shoulder. And then your bottom knee is going to be bent. And my foot is behind me. So my knee is bent in this way. If you can just check me out, that'll be. And the top leg is straight. Okay, if you need more padding below your hip, if your hip kind of digs into the floor, you can lay a blanket down. Okay. All right, now from here, my hips are stacked straight up and down. So notice, let your top hip roll back for a moment and just feel the difference there. Okay, my hip rolled back, and I'm going to avoid that and try to keep my hips straight up and down. If you need to bring your bottom leg forward a little bit, you can. And now I'm going to internally rotate this top leg. So I curve it, rotate it from the thigh bone. And now my foot, when I do that, my toes kind of angling toward the floor and my heel angling toward the ceiling a bit. Okay, you can also prop yourself up on your arm like this. Okay, now from here, I'm going to inhale, lift the leg up, and exhale, bring it down. Not to rest, but just down and up. Now right away, I can already feel this in my hip because my hip's already a little tired. And as I'm doing this, I'm not letting this top hip roll back. If I do, I'm going to use different muscles than I'm after. Okay, I'm after these muscles on my butt, basically. Okay, the side of my hip. I'm keeping the internal rotation of that left leg. Lifting up and going down, keeping breathing. Let's do about 10 of these or so. Notice if you roll back. Okay, great. And then just bend both knees for a moment. And let's inhale, reach the left arm forward. I just stacked my knees at a 45-degree angle in the front. And exhale, I'm opening up like a book. So I'm just coming into a twist for a moment. And then I'm going to close my book. I sent my bottom arm out, and my top arm is opening and closing like a book. I know I said left, but it's really whichever one's your top. Good. One or two more. Let your head be as supported as needed with blankets so that your neck doesn't hurt. Good. And now we're going to flip around. So you can come onto your back and turn over to the other side. Or like me, you could flip around so you're facing the same direction. Get any head and neck support you might like. Bottom leg is bent. Hips are stacked, one right on top of the other. Shoulders are stacked, one right on top of the other. You could always angle that bottom knee forward a little bit. And then just lean back with the top hip for a moment so you can see what that feels like. And then stack them again. Okay, now I'm going to turn my heel toward the ceiling, my toes toward the floor. And when you're ready, you're lifting, keeping it. So it's like you're leading with the heel. You've got that internal rotation of the thigh bone, of the hip. And trying to feel this in the glute area. Make sure your neck and your jaw are softening. Good. All right. Then coming to that 45-degree angle, stacked knees. You might need to prop your head up more as the bottom arm stretches out, top arm on top. Gonna inhale and then exhale, open like a book, and just repeat a few times, letting the head can roll with this. All right, now we're gonna come back to our first side. So you can come onto your back and flip over or flip it around. Okay, get your head and neck support. All right, now this time, I'm going to have my knees a little less than a 45-degree angle, but stacked. But I'm gonna do the same thing with the hips right on top. So I'm not gonna let this roll back. If I were with you, I might come and put my leg right behind your hips so you could feel them straight up and down as you try to do this. And I'm going to keep my feet together and open my top knee like a clamshell and back down. And what I'm doing, or I'm taking my top arm and I'm placing it on my sacrum so that I get the physical contact and I can feel if my hip starts to roll back. So if I open too far, then I start to roll back a little bit, okay? And the amount that's too far is individual for you, okay? It just depends on your hip mobility and strength. Okay, keep breathing. Again, might be a slightly different area than we just worked. Okay, now let's bring the knees together. And now I'm going to lift the top leg off the bottom leg so they're parallel. And maybe, I don't know, about 8 inches between the two. The shins will start parallel, and then I will open up the knee from this position. I'm still making sure I don't lean back, and then I will close the knee back to that start position with the 8-inch difference or separation and repeat. And ooh, this gets right in there for me. Okay, so I'm opening and closing, and I've got my top hand on my sacrum to notice if I start to roll back with that top hip. Keep going. Whew. Okay. You could do as many as you'd like there, all right? Or if you're ready to switch sides, you're just gonna roll onto your back and either roll over or again switch sides. Knees stacked, bent, maybe 45 or a little bigger ankle. Top hand can come to the back hips. And then feet together, opening and closing the knee. Like a clamshell without rolling back. Keep breathing. You could take, I might have been going a little bit fast. You could do about a 2 count up and a 2 count down. It's kind of squeezing at the top. Okay. Now, bring it down, and then we'll set up with the top leg lifted about 8 inches off the bottom leg. This is our starting position. And from here, we do a clamshell. So your hand can be on your hips so you can feel if it's rolling back, opening and closing. And keep those hips stacked. All right, and then coming down. Let's press ourselves up. And we will sit in a side seat with your right leg in front, left leg in back. If this doesn't work for your hips or knees, you could lie down on your back in a figure 4 instead. Okay. If you're okay here, you can try to move toward 90-degree angles at your knees and hips, on both knees and hips. Okay, you can just see. Now I'm going to turn my sternum to face my front knee, that right knee. And I've got my fingers propped up. Now I'm going to draw my toes toward my foot. So I'm doing the same thing we did on the floor when we were in constructive rest pose. And I'm in dorsiflexion, like I'm standing on the floor. Okay? And now from here, got my sternum turned toward the knee. I'm going to draw this thigh bone into the hip socket. Boom. Inhale. Now I'm going to lengthen and lift like I'm taking my belly button away from the thigh and getting long as I exhale, keeping everything the same through that front foot and thigh as I lean toward my knee with a relaxed neck. And then let's inhale, lift back up. And then let's do that again. So you can have your fingers propped up. You can also try it with no hands. And lift. And again. Now, if you have any knee pain while you're doing that, you can stay just in the upright position without the lean, or you could try to bend the leg in more. It doesn't have to be at 90 degrees. Good. All right, now let's switch to the other side. Bringing the left leg in front, the right leg behind, or whichever one you haven't done, and just checking it out. Can you do this 90-degree deal here? Okay. Now, can we draw those toes up toward the foot and have the ankle in dorsiflexion? All right. Now, I'm going to turn sternum toward front knee and draw the thigh bone into the hip socket. So suck it back in. Okay, you can put your fingers here to test out the side. Inhale, lengthen your belly button up away. So you're getting long through your spine, away from your thigh. And then exhale, a little dip down. You can use the support of your hands and inhale up. Okay, or you don't have to use the support if that's possible. Just keep breathing. Let the neck be at ease. Good. Now, the next time that you come up, let's stay up and take the soles of the feet together. Now, what can really help in this pose, especially if you're really tight, like you're up like this or you're rounded, is to sit up on a block or a pillow or a blanket. That can help. If it hurts, of course, you can pad the knees. You don't want it to hurt in the knees, okay? If it's just a stretch on the inner thigh, that's different, but if it's like knee pain, okay? I'm gonna bring the soles of the feet together. You can always prop your hands up behind you, or you can reach for the toes, and you can even start to pull the toes away from the foot. Away from each other, like boom, okay? You can notice how this feels through your groin and hips, where you feel restriction. Good. Now, if this is really intense, you might want to take it to a little more relaxed position. We're going to be here for a few breaths. If this is too much, you can sit cross-legged instead. Okay. I'm going to take our hands to right below one of your collarbones. So this is my right side. And I've got my clavicle here. I'm going to press down on the skin and pull downwards on the muscles to kind of pin it down. Okay. And right away, I can already feel a little stretch in here in the front of my neck. And I'm going to continue to feel that by lifting my chin up and away to the opposite corner and breathe. Good. See if you can feel your breath below your hands. And you're just stretching a muscle in here called the platysma muscle, maybe some other stuff too. Softening your jaw. Good. And release. Good. Now we'll take them to the other side. So hands below collarbone. I'm going to press down. Okay. Pin the muscle. And then reach your chin up to the opposite corner if it feels okay. I'm not leaning down toward my ear towards shoulder. I'm instead kind of taking the chin up, softening the jaw, breathing, feeling the breath beneath my fingers. Good, and release. Okay, just wiggle out the fingers and change your leg position. Let's inhale, roll the shoulders up. Exhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together and draw them down your back, and again. Now, I'm going to take your hand. So I'm doing my right hand, and I'm taking the heel of my hand toward the temple of my right side of my head. And I'm going to press my head into my hand as though I was trying to turn it to the right. Okay, so I'm just pressing, but it's not turning because my hand's pressing against it too. Keep breathing. And release, and then the other side. There is a good I think it's right in the top of the video library. There is a session just on a neck release with the balls, which is really nice for tight muscles. You just need a couple of yoga therapy balls, or you can use a couple tennis balls in a sock. Okay, and release. Inhale, roll the shoulders up. Exhale, take them down your back. Good. And now we're just going to start to take the head down to one side, only going as far as feels okay, and then slightly down to the other side. So sometimes when you've got a kink in one side, going down to that side really aggravates it. So you just want to be aware of that. And not go into it, right? Good. All right. Let's come onto our hands and knees and slowly press ourselves up. You can use the bear get up, standing all the way up. Once you get there, reaching the arms up toward the ceiling. And exhale, bringing the arms out to the sides and down. And let's inhale, roll the shoulders up. And exhale, take them down your back. And again. Good. And just let the arms hang. Let the hands relax. You might need your wall or your chair in front of you for this. We're going to try to take the feet parallel, if that feels okay. So without turning them out at all, just straight ahead. And we're just going to go up on the inhale with the heels and exhale down and lift the toes. And again. Now these are great to do without the toe lift part on a step, right? You've seen these before, calf raises, but when you go down, say this were my step, it's not very stable on a yoga block, but it might flip. But when you go down, you go all the way down and all the way up. So you come into a stretched position. These are awesome to do every couple days. Good. Now we're gonna change it a little bit. We're gonna get our block. And let's place the block just above the kneecaps on the inner thighs there, okay? We're gonna do the same thing. So you can hold the back of your chair or you can hold the wall, and I'm gonna come up. And as we go back, we'll try to balance and lift the soles of the feet. So I'm balancing on the heels. I'm rocking back onto the heels. Now, if you want to, you can add arms. And I'm also going to add a squat. So it's a little different. I'm going to go up and then I'm going to squat and I might still rock onto the heels. Whoops. And then inhale up, exhale, rock. So I'm still taking my feet through this plantar and dorsiflexion. Couple more. Good, and release. Can take your block out and set it to the side. Whoops, that was loud. Good, and let's just hula hoop the hips around. Let the arms relax. And notice how your breath is. Good. And come back to the center. Let's do crescent moon pose. So you can bring your feet close or touching, and inhale. Let's reach the arms up toward the ceiling, and let's use one hand. I'm going to use my right to grab my left, And stretch it up. And I'm going to exhale, lean toward the side. And then inhale, come back up. And as I do this, you guys, I really just let my head rest on the arm I'm leaning towards. So I don't necessarily go that far. And up. And switch the hold again. Same thing. Feel your feet grounding down. And up. And switch. And up. And exhale, arms out and down. And just stand here for a moment. Your feet might be close or they might be wide in Tadasana pose, mountain pose. Can let your eyes be soft if you're able to. You might even close them for a moment. And feeling all 10 toes, feeling the balls of your feet and the heels of your feet. Let's breathe in for a count of 4. And out for a count of 4 or longer. And again. Feel like the top of your head is reaching up toward the ceiling as your shoulders relax down. Good. And then opening eyes now. We're going to get a rolled up mat. So you could roll up your yoga mat if you got one. I'm going to grab one because this one is very flat. It doesn't roll up. What you're looking for is something that has some height. So you could also use a blanket or a towel. You just don't want it to smash down to flat when you use it. You know, if I use too flimsy of a towel or a blanket, it would just get flat when I put weight on it. Okay, I'm going to take the back of my chair here. And I'm going to set my rolled up thing behind my chair. And I'm going to put my feet, the balls of the feet on it. And I want to feel a calf stretch when I'm here. So this thing is high enough and firm enough that I'm getting a calf stretch just standing like this without doing anything. So that's what you're looking for. If it's too intense, you can make it lower. Okay, mine is just fine. Now I've got my chair here and I'm looking down. Are my feet parallel? I'm going to make them parallel. Okay. Ooh, okay, now I'm going to inhale, same thing we were doing. Go up through a plantar flexion or a heel raise and exhale down back to your stretch. And inhale up and exhale down. And this can help strengthen the feet a lot. It also helps to strengthen the calves and stretch them. One could also do this with one leg, right? That would make it a lot harder. So something like this, if you're doing it on your own or if you're watching this as a recording, you could always pause it and do a few sets of these. Same with those hip exercises that we did on our sides on the floor. These are not traditional yoga asanas, right? But we're using instead just mindful movements. We're using it with a yoga approach. Good. Okay, next time you come down, let's leave the heels down. So hopefully you're in a stretch. And this might be enough of a stretch right here, or you might feel that you want to hinge at the hips a little bit, and it will just change the stretch, right? It might not be more or less of a stretch, it might just be different. And let your neck relax. Notice if you're trying to bend the knees. If you are, straighten them all the way and just adjust. Use that yoga, pranayama, that breath work that's just conscious. It doesn't have to be ujjayi, but it could be. That's just a type of breath breathing, the one where you can hear the sound of your breath. Let's go a couple more breaths to increase this. What I try to do is I try to lift my tail up toward the ceiling. It's just a mental thing. I might be moving a little. If I tuck it under, it takes a stretch out. If I lift it more, whoo, yeah, I get more of a stretch. And we've got other videos in our library, when you're ready, just coming up, where we use the ball on the calf, right? That's another great release that helps feet, ankles, knees, and hips. Maybe even low back. Just step side to side a little bit. And now let's stand again in Tadasana and notice whatever feels different now. Following your breath in and out. All right, let's do a few sun salutations. In Sanskrit, that's Surya Namaskar, which means greeting the sun or sun salutes. Okay, we can do them with our chairs or without our chairs. I'm going to show it first with and then without, so you can choose what you want to do. And we're just doing one variation. There are so many variations. So we'll stand in front of our chairs in Tadasana, and then on the inhale, reach up. Exhale, let's fold forward. Inhale, let's reach your chest forward, getting long through the spine. And exhale, let's step to downward facing dog, stretching back. And I'm just doing a chair down dog. We'll take 3 breaths here. Good, and then slowly inhale, bend the knees, and exhale, step forward. Inhale, reaching your spine forward. Exhale, bend the knees like you're sitting in a chair behind you. Inhale, reaching up. And exhale, arms down. Good, now you can do it that same way again, or this time I'll also show it without the chair. A little different, okay? Here we go. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinging at the hips to fold, hands to legs or chair. Inhale, reaching your chest forward. And exhale, I'm stepping to down dog on the floor. Just put my hands down and I step my feet back so that my hips go up toward the ceiling. This is called Adho Mukha Shavasana. Savasana, I'm mispronouncing a bit here, which means downward facing dog. Feel all of your fingers. 2 more breaths. And 1 more breath. Whew, that feels good. Inhale, bend the knees, and exhale, stepping forward. When you get there, hands to legs or chair. Inhale, extending spine forward. Exhale, bend the knees like you're sitting in a chair behind you. And then inhale, reaching way up. Exhale, Tadasana. And I'm going to do another one. Inhale, arms up. You can use chair or not. Exhale and fold. Hands to legs or chair. Inhale, extending spine forward. Exhale, can bend the knees, hands to floor or chair, stepping feet back. Adho Mukha Shavasana. 3 breaths. Good, and then bending the knees and stepping forward. This time, when we get up there, we're going to inhale to still extend the spine forward. And then if it feels okay on your back, let's take Uttanasana, or a standing forward bend. You can do that with hands on chair, or your arms can dangle. You can have your knees bent a little, or you can bend them a lot. Let your neck relax. You might nod your head. You might turn it side to side. I'm going to take my hands and interlace them behind the bottom of my skull. So I'm just creating a little neck traction. This looks like this. I'm bending my knees as I do that just to take the work out of there. Good. Now you can release your arms and roll your spine up with bent knees if that feels good, or you can come up the way we've been doing it. Whatever feels better in your back today, or whatever you want to try. Coming all the way up. All right. We're going to find our block. And many of you might want the wall for this. It's just a higher support, but you could also use your chair. Just depends on how low it is. And what we're going to do is stand on your block. Now, if you don't have a block, you could use a stool or a step of any type that's stable. Okay, I'm going to put the side that's closest to my balance support. That foot's going on the block. You can also use a stack of books. And I'm standing up. Okay, now I'm going to show this without the wall just so you can see what's happening in my hips as I'm here. Okay. Now, I think you guys that are present have done this with me before. So if you see when I stand up, this bottom foot is floating off the floor. And my hands are on my hips. My hips are even right now. But if I just let this outer leg kind of dangle downward, like now my toes are touching the floor, the inner hip is higher, right? It's like on a slant like this, okay? And what this exercise involves, pelvic lifts, is I'm going to keep both legs straight. I don't put any weight on this dangle leg, the outside leg. I just push into the standing leg. My hips come even, and then they go back down, up, down. And so you're holding your support. I'm just showing you what's happening in the pelvis. So to do this, all I'm doing, it's a small movement. I'm pushing into the standing leg, foot, and leg, and I can feel it immediately working this outer hip. I can also feel it a little bit in my outer thigh. This is something else that you could do a few sets of, like maybe 2 sets of 20 or 3 sets of 10. It just depends on what amount feels right to you, where you feel like, God, I'm getting to the end of my ability to do these well. No weight. So the thing that I often see people do is step down onto that bottom foot. So no weight goes onto that bottom foot. And I see people bend knees. You don't want to do that. All right, let's step down. Let's keep the foot that's on the block on the block. Okay, so from the side, it looks like this. And now what I'm going to do, and you can have your hands on your chair or your wall, whatever you were using for balance if you want, or on nothing. I'm just going to fold down in this asymmetrical forward fold. Good, and then rise back up. I'm going to can turn around, or for me, I'm just going to move my balance support. So now my other foot steps up onto my prop, okay? So here's my even hips when I've got this leg up, right? If I let it dangle, it goes down, right? So these are the two hips. And so all I'm doing is lifting the hips. I press into the standing leg to lift that outside hip up to be even with the inside hip. I don't overdo it. I don't try to lift it higher or do anything funky with my side waist. It just comes up and down. Good. Up. Keep breathing and down. Again, you're doing these until you feel like, gosh, I could only do a few more of these well. Right. Before taking a break, you could always repeat this if you're watching it on the recording. And then coming out, we'll do our asymmetrical forward bend, leaving the foot on the block. You could turn to face the chair as you do this, or you could simply fold forward. Let your head and neck relax. Good. And then slowly rolling up. And we'll come back to our mats, if you've left them, that is, or move your chair out of the way like I am. And then let's inhale and reach your arms up whenever you're ready. And exhale, I'm going to fold, bend the knees, walk my hands down to the floor. Drop the knees down. Good. I'm gonna have a seat. Now you could do this fully lying down as well. Okay, it's a figure 4 stretch, but I'm going to do it seated today, a little different. So what I'm going to do to get there is I'm going to lean back, cross my right ankle over my left thigh. So I've got this figure 4. I'm finding the dorsiflexion in my ankle again. And for me, this is a pretty good stretch right here, okay? But if you need it to be less of a stretch, you just lean back or even come all the way down onto your back and press the knee away like this, okay? You can be anywhere, or you could be closer, trying to sit up tall, getting more of a stretch. Breathing, you want to be able to breathe comfortably. If your wrists bother you, you could always do this lying down, but with your foot on a chair too, so you don't have to use them behind your back. You can rock a little side to side with the hips and knees. Good. And then to switch sides, you lean back and cross the other way, and then test out this side. Again, you can do any of the options I mentioned. You might notice, if you're like me, this time I have one hip that's a lot tighter today. It's a lot more fatigued and sore. You might feel that, you might not. Rock a little bit. Good, and then let's release, lean back. Let's sit cross-legged. You can modify, you can add props. I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to turn the fingers inward so my palm will be on the floor. I'm just going to sit on it. Okay, so it's below my right butt. Okay, and then from here, you can arrange your hand however you want. Like I just decided I wanted the weight on a different part of my hand, so I moved it. I'm going to move my shoulder back. And I feel a stretch through my hand as I'm doing this. You might feel it through the wrist too. If it's too much, adjust for your wrist. Now, for me, I'm going to inhale, sit up tall. You're going to decide how much of this to do. And I'm going to exhale. I'm going to lean my head a little or a lot. I've just got my hand on my chest as a means to steady and another point of focus. Notice if you can feel your breath in your torso. And you can always move your chin around. Just go gently and slowly. Good. And then bringing the head gently back up. I'm just turning my palm upward for a moment, turning it the other way into wrist flexion and moving my weight around on the hand a bit. And then release. Notice how the hand feels, how that side of your neck feels, or both. And now we'll take palm down, fingers point toward the midline, sitting on it, arranging. You can always switch your legs or change them. And then from here, I'm going to take my right hand to my sternum and then gently start to explore with the neck any way you want to. Big wide inhales, long exhales. Good. And then slowly bring the head back up and can turn the palm up just to get into some wrist flexion for a moment. Good. And just release. You can roll the wrists or move them around however you'd like. We're going to come onto our backs. Get any props that you'd like for Shavasana. Your legs could be straight or bent. Put them over something or up a wall or on a chair. If there's any other pose you want too, like if you want another twist or a knees to chest, go for it. And as you're ready to, you can release yourself. Practicing releasing as much effort as you can. Take a sigh. Feeling as though you could drop into the floor a little bit more deeply. Noticing how you're feeling now through your body. How your mind feels. And whenever you choose to come out, there's no rush. You can stay here longer.